Okay, hello. I don't think anyone's here, but that's alrighty. I apologize if people are here and I sent them links. I'm just not sure on this new space if people are signed up for notifications. This is a weird time for me and a weird space for me, so I apologize if I pestered anyone's texts while they were occupied with some other stream on their phone or something to that effect. I'm sorry about that. And if you're somebody that got a text who isn't usually here, it was just to make sure that you were linked up if you were somebody that's interested or has expressed interest in the future in maybe teaching in one of the private classes. And so I'm just linking the people that are interested in teaching as well as the people who are coming to learn. Well, everybody's coming to learn. You get my point. Hello, Marshall. You're in one of your covert outfits, I see. I sent you a link via text, you mean? I see. Okay. Is the other one your tablet or something like that? Either way, I'm going to privately let Joe know who you are because I don't know if you, since you're super covert about your names, and I understand why. I'm going to let him know that he knows you. He might already know, but I'm not sure. So I'm just going to verify.
No, no, your secret is quite safe. I have no clue.
Oh, she just spilled it in the chat anyway.
Um,
But I texted you privately because I wasn't sure if you wanted us to let people know there. Can 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 we call you? What do you want us to call you right now? Super spy,
Marshall is fine, I suppose.
Marshall. Every time I say Marshall, I think about How I Met Your Mother.
Oh,
Marshall Erickson, because I like that character though. Like his
strangely enough,
wife.
I think of Sesame Street skits with Grover.
Wait, but who's Marshall?
Well, he's Marshall Grover and his Wonder Horse Fred. You remember that?
Oh, he has so many things. Wolfie's great. Okay, good. I just didn't know if this was how much of a spy outfit this was, since I have awareness, both literal and energetic, of some of your other outfits. I wasn't sure if this was one of the covert ones or not. Well, we're glad you're here, Wolfie. How was your day? How are things where you are? Because it's looking pretty flood, torrential, like rivers in the streets kind of situation. Is that, I mean, I know that you're in that city, but is it near where you live? Excuse me. Okay. Good golly, I'm so glad it is, but like, can you get to the grocery store and stuff? Or is it just smart to stay in the neighborhood? It's sort of like much like the deep south when they suddenly get snow and they cancel everything for like a quarter of an inch because they don't know what to do, you know? I can't imagine that y'all know what to do, like your public works knows what to do with what's going on there. Hello to whomever else has joined. It's good to see you. groceries are very close, but we always keep pantry full. Okay, that's good. Yeah, I didn't know, I didn't understand that it was a bowl, but I did understand that it was very deserty, and kept wondering what that meant for what they know to do in a flood situation. Well, I'm glad that they did that because those people would have drowned in that tunnel probably. Are you talking about under the city or the tunnels sort of on the outskirts? Well, probably both. Never mind, that's a dumb question.
I remember like about 10 years ago, there was some serious flooding in Vegas. Um, and they had to evacuate lot of the places on the strip.
Yeah, I've seen hello to whomever else is here as well. It's good to see you. Your number turn up. Please feel free to say hi, hi, hi,
I think that might have been me. I,
peeking in.
I'm following on the chat on YouTube.
Oh, okay. I'm not, and it lists as three. So you might be one, and Wolfie might be one, and then there's a third. So I'm not sure
Yeah.
who number three is, but hello, number three, or number two, really. Um, so I need to remember that we sort of started talking 10 minutes into this situation. Normally, we're planning on being here at 8:30 Central Standard on Mondays, and then we would be doing like an hour live stream for the public, and then people that have signed up for like digital desktop private group class. It's a group class, but it's a private class that happens and gets recorded off of the public, out of public viewing. Would start at 9:40 p.m. CST and just go for however long people need, depending on who is in attendance. And a lot more of sort of the protocol of how we're going to learn in terms of it being sort of educationally structured, but in a playful way, um, will be, of course, revealed in the private streams more so than it will be in the public. But in the public streams, we'll still talk about what we're working on and what manifestation is supposed to sort of be to get people like tracked on the right place if it's something they're interested in doing, or even if they're just interested in learning about some of the great sources of the really smart people that talk and lecture on the topic. Um, and then to do some just fun little exercises. And we might do like pretty frequently in the public chat, we might do things like mood and dream and vision boards and things like that um, in the public areas. And then in the private areas, things will be more specifically written for the individual group or even individual students. There's going to be a pretty heavy focus on adult, um, like sort of the power of adult play. Um, and I know that that's sometimes hard for people to think about, sort of, I don't know, embracing or not being embarrassed to participate in, which is why that part will not be like in a live setting. And so people can relax and perhaps actually relax enough to enjoy um, the art of play and use it smartly in meditation and manifestation and that kind of stuff. I have to get with B and have her send money for class. I hope that she can come at least to some of the stuff. Hi, Pix. No worries. I'm really late. This is supposed to start at 8:30, but because there wasn't because this is the first week and we haven't scheduled anything for the private class that would start an hour after the public live, it was like, okay, well, I was trying to schedule other things on this channel and other like notifications. I was trying to schedule them for the future and that kind of stuff. So I just thought I'd use that time that way. Um, But yeah, so also the class, I mean, the class could be, just you can choose to just like pay an attendance fee and watch, and that's a really low fee just to be in the private room, you know, and on the mailing list and that kind of stuff. And then, for people that are getting more heavily involved and want certain things, certain lessons plans written out for them, or they want to use some of the lesson plans moving forward, there would be a bigger fee for that. But just to attend the class, it's an extremely low fee. It's just sort of a way of saying, hey, it's a way of knowing who's there, and keeping the exercises not embarrassing in a public fashion for those that attend. And also for ideally sort of being able to keep our curriculum, at least for a little while. It's not like we'll be doing things that no one else does, but we will be doing a few things that I haven't seen utilized in this particular way. And I was sort of secretly practicing it in secret channels on TikTok and things to see like responses of people that really do study the law of attraction a lot, and really try to focus on manifestation almost as their form of spirituality. I think I'm one of those people, um, because it just made me the happiest. It's the happiest expression of spirituality that I have found, and it works for me in terms of just in like it may not always work in terms of like people expecting huge things necessarily, but in finding peace, it's brought me a lot of peace, and it's really gotten my head in a much healthier space since it's something that I've been working on, and it's been years now. Like, I mean, we're getting close to a decade of that kind of stuff, which is why I feel comfortable having like a beginner level class with some exercises that would appeal to people that are more farther progressed into the concepts. Hold on here. Okay, Pixie was a little heated. She had to calm her tits. Went to get food. I hope you are getting to eat, Cat. Um, what's wrong with your tits, Pix? What's going on? Uh oh. Why for? How's the little boy on that topic? Okie dokie artichoke on the be right back. Good. I'm glad. I'm glad he's good. It's a very good thing. Are you wanting to vent why your tits were not calm, or is that really something you? It's up to you. I didn't mean to ask if you don't want to talk about it here. I don't know if there's a lag on this or not. Hard for me to tell. Okay, here's the answer. So
I don't think there is a lag because they showed up both on YouTube and on
at the
StreamYard at
same.
the same time.
Okay. Okay. Right, but I don't know like how long it takes for my voice to be heard. You know what I mean? Because sometimes, anyway, the lag is sometimes staggered. It's a long story. Instead of being appreciative for what people are doing for her and going out of their way, she wants to complain. Okay. I assume you're talking about the car and other things of that nature. And I'm sorry that's going on. Well, I mean, I don't know how to say this. I'm not trying to be offensive to all of us who are female, but a lot of times, especially for mamas, girls are harder to rear in a lot of ways. And Ashton might have come in late, but she still was a child in a lot of ways when she joined your group and your family. And she doesn't really have a strong identifiable mother energy in her life other than you. And so it makes sense to me that she would frustrate you like a um, ungrateful daughter. Hi, Miss Claudia. Um, and in some ways, that's really lovely, right? Because it means that even though things are hard between um, in their co-parenting land, it means you guys truly are family, or she wouldn't bug you this way. And I mean, I know that a lot of it you do for the little boy, but you do plenty for her too. You love her plenty. You know that you're her mom. I think you know that. And she did growing up, right? But she didn't have anyone mothering her, based on what I understand. And um, you know, the silver spoon, right? That's can be an issue, but also, so can the complete manipulation, using that spoon and the isolation of love, and things being the only currency within the family love dynamics. Like that's gonna mess people up. So you're the only mother that doesn't buy her off. Right, I know, that's what I mean by I think she's your daughter now. She knows exactly where your buttons are, and she plays Funky Town all over them. Boop, 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 boop. She knows exactly where they are. Partially because she's very observant and smart in a lot of ways, right? And then intelligent might be the better word, because I know there's different sort of people. You might not view her as like street smart and stuff, but it's a very intelligent woman, young woman. But so she's extremely observant and probably, has a lot of your mannerisms pegged. And also, I think, when you grow up in a family that teaches to manipulate, you're pretty freaking good at it. And so you watch people and for their own personal tells, and then you use them against them hard. Well, that might be a good thing. I think actually she loves you for it. Like, I know you can't quite WrestleMania her like you would you're one of the ones you raised, right? Because she's a little more fragile, but she can take it, and she knows you love her. And almost all of the times I've seen you really even come close to going off on her, even if it's tense for a little while, she seems to learn pretty fast, and you're a good teacher. You just have two daughters now, that's all, sugar. It's a girl. Congratulations. NLN. And I think that's LOL, right? That's LOL. Okay. I was like, NLN. I'm not on a hip on the kid lingo, but I think that's LOL. Like if you're like one level off. Yeah. You have pretty teal hair a lot of the times, Miss Cat. I hope you're not losing too much hair. Oh, that's the bird. See, I knew it was something. And at first, I was like, "That's something I don't know what that is." That's interesting. Thank you for flipping us off. Oh my gosh. Yeah. See, I would never have guessed that. That middle finger is like Jack the Pumpkin King. It's pretty skeletal. She has. She's definitely called her out. And my God, it really always seems to be, I think there's pouting for a little window of time, but she seems to snap back faster than certainly than a lot of in laws would, right? And then even than some of the kids. West, I'm trying to, I don't know why I get them confused sometimes, the twins. I get their names confused. I never get their energies confused. I think she snaps back though because she knows your love is really essential. Like it's like lifeblood to her. She's learned a lot about actual love from you guys, which is really pretty. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, but I couldn't remember. I know that um, with Holton, it was like going to be East or West Coast, and for a long time in cards, it looked like it was going to be West Coast, like in the Oregon area, maybe. Um, is he moving near your sis? Okay. Is that something that happened during her visit? Um, so that he could just experience something, or does she need someone to help her around the house, or what's going on there? Oh, I just heard some information from the guides about that. That's interesting. It's not a bad move for him. At least, like the first like three things they've said, it's not bad. She needs help. Well, it's nice that he even wants to, and it's a safe way to spread your wings, especially when you don't have too much moolah to do so. I know I've told you this, and like it can be another time, but like they still talk about photography with him, and somebody just said like that's a great area because I know where she is, right? It's a great area to take photos. She wants to. Oh, it's not like she needs somebody to haul things or that she's having physical restrictions. It's that she's going to steal your egg so her nest is not empty. I mean, it's like, well, but Hayden is like a great age to try this. This is like a safe thing to try, right? Um, to go where family is when he's not exactly sure of direction or even interest in any job and he's just graduated, It's a great way to feel like he's okay and and honestly, he's going to, I mean, anywhere different is different, and distance with our kiddos is different, and scary regardless. But he is not going to a place where he'd be really like a fish out of water. He's not going to like Harlem. He's going to the Midwest, and it's not going to be a wildly unfamiliar like energy for him. Hold on one second. Here we go. Sorry about that. Okay. Their kids are 31 and 23. Yeah. Well, the good thing is too, like, I mean, because he's not going because of a passion project or, whatever, it's a great way to explore, but he might ricochet back pretty quick if he, once he's had enough of the city. Does she really come home once a month? I didn't realize that. Because until this recent visit, I hadn't really heard about her visiting. Oh, I'm pretty sure he'll be back. I think he'd like to perhaps even have a structure of some sort on your amazing new land at some point. Yeah, I mean, I think his twin is going to go a lot of different places over time. And I think he might wind up being adventurous. I think it's going to happen a little later. Yeah, what are you feeling, Kat? I wondered that same thing. I bet so, because Twin was talking about moving a long time ago, and everybody's like, "No, it's too soon," and probably Twin, probably Hayden said something to him too, and now he's like, "Wait a second, what?" He's gonna go, and everybody flipped out. I went just for like a course that was temporary, and now you're going to relocate. Yeah, I think that that's really smart. Think of it like a visit, and then if you really enjoy it, or at least don't hate it, it's a great test run. Yeah, I mean, well, for sure, where she lives will definitely be a different pace um, but really probably familiar, like in a lot of other ways. Actually, I didn't realize that you guys were quite that close in age. I guess I thought it was 3 or 4 years. Hey Joe, I know you have your microphone on and the background noise is awesome and like there's zero.
Okay, good. I was a little concerned about that.
Ooh, what kind of remodel? October 7th. Now I want to look at a map and see if you would cut by me. I think you could, but I don't know that I don't know. You really wouldn't actually. You'd be quite a bit farther south. That's sort of cool. There must be something magical about that gap if there's a lot of folks with that gap. Knock out a wall to open up the kitchen and living room. Oh, that'll be interesting. Is there hubs? I didn't. I saw it scroll by. It was one of the times I was muting because the bird was engaging with a one of her house humans. But is there hubs just physically challenged, or is it like is he an Alzheimer's dementia fellow?
Is it today that is his birthday or is it tomorrow?
Tomorrow. I think he's the
It's
fifth, isn't
tomorrow.
he? I think he's the fifth. Yeah, I thought it was. I know. I like went straight to my calendar. I was like, oh no, I have it wrong. He's in my phone as his first name and then AKA Mr. Pixie. Well, and right now, that's lovely. You know, right now it really is legitimately just, it is an exclusively, you know, beaky noise, especially at this time of day, because Other Baby is much like Beaky was on at different hours, you know, pretty much like retail hours. It's not like up with dawn, you know, or when the sun is rising or whatever, but Okay, did you send me something pics? Because I got LMAO, but I didn't get anything else yet. Maybe it's a picture loading. Let's see. Okay. Oh, let me show you. Okay. We want to do my kitchen since fireman took the plaster off around my door. I want to upgrade the kitchen. Oh my goodness, was that when you were away and Mr. D had to be taken in? And then also, secondary question, why did they have to take the plaster off?
Did they take the door off its hinges?
Oh. I think they were being EMTs at the time.
Oh, okay.
Take down a wall in dining room, kitchen to half. Oh, that's fun. What did they used to call that? They used to put a door in it too, but I can't remember what they used to call it. The door, like the little window from the kitchen to the dining area. Now I understand you want a whole wall down, but they used to have that a lot and call it something. Firemen, and I say this with love because my one of my houses burned down. Um, and they came in and well, that's we also found out that day that the city didn't have an appropriate number of fire hydrants, and there wasn't one even remotely close to my street. So things were burning while they were trying to get like a pumper truck there. Um, and so very bravely they like sort of went in with axes trying to take. I mean, and it was on fire. This was not partial, right? It was on fire, and so this is not like a partial scenario, but they still went in trying to sort of, I guess, guide the fire in a direction. But once they did have water, my gosh, like they just, they go full Rambo, right? It's like once everything's completely out, they still do a lot of like wall destroying. I think they're looking for embers or something. I don't really know, but it sure felt like they knocked down a lot of stuff that the fire didn't and that seemed to be okay. Pass through. Thank you. 6-inch door trim off, pulling the plaster off the wall. I thought so. Okay. Oh, that was a while ago, and it was one of those crazy, interesting things where I'd walked around for 3 days saying, "My house is burning somewhere. My house is burning somewhere," and I want somebody to pay like to help me with this. I know that there's going to be a big fire in my house, not that my current house, my house before this one, and we I just like fully moved in a week before this, right? And
So when you were saying this was before the fire?
okay, you cut out.
I was asking
Okay,
when you.
Pixie, it came in through messaging, and poor Pixie's Hubs has some pretty freaking intense. Um, oh my gosh, I just lost my mind. Poison ivy reaction at the moment, and it's. I mean, it's. This is oh that poor man. I'm sorry, Joe. Please continue because you cut out.
Um, oh, it's no. Continue with your story.
What did you ask?
Is that swelling under his eye?
It's swelling all around his eye. I think.
Oh,
Yeah, it didn't come through via text pics, but I got it in messaging, and oh my gosh.
I hope he
I
feels
thought it
better
didn't
for his
look good
birthday.
yesterday, but today it's like, oh, he looks like he's been in a fight with a kangaroo. They were, I see, Wolfie. I think you weren't here when we were talking about it the other night, but yeah, apparently, Cat is the same way, and Pixie's Hubs is the same way. So for 4 days, it was really weird. For 2 of those 4 days, it's like I was hearing fire, and I wasn't really. Okay, so this was definitely a spirit like warning because I was hearing fire, and I was literally walking around, touching walls with my hands, trying to see if anything felt hot, and that everybody thought that was super weird, and not everybody, because not everybody knew, but them's what we're told, right? We're like, okay, now if you can predict fires, and it was like, I don't know. I've never been in this situation before. It's not like I wander around worrying about fire all the time, but this is a big concern for me for whatever reason. And I think that people thought maybe because it was in like my first week in a house or whatever, that maybe I was nervous about that. And I was like, this is so not it. I've lived in so many terrifying apartments and places. But so anyway, yeah, the first 2 days, it was really like spirit fire. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Then for like a solid day, I smelled what like smelled like, I don't know, maybe like a melting wire. Nothing like too extreme. But I was still hearing fire crackling, like it sounded like a raging fire. And then on the last day, I had been waiting to close a production that I was in to get a very important test. They thought I had cancer in my thyroid, and I had been waiting to go and get certain scans until like the day after the show closed. That way, if they had to act fast, my contract was completed, and it was just close enough that I was able to do that. So this was an important doctor's appointment, right? And I was nervous, and I really wanted to go, but I finally just called. I called my father and just said, I am not leaving this house with my pets in it. I am too high anxiety that something's going on, and I don't want to leave them here. And he said, there's that doctor's appointment. And I said, I mean, I don't care. And that's, how important that is. So, this is really, that's how much this is scaring me. And he said, well, the guy that did, the wiring, that, where he fixed all the wiring in this house, before we officially moved in, is just a few blocks away. You could call him, right? And I said, at this point, like just the last hour, some fuses were blowing, like some fuses in the fuse box were popping, right? And of course, the two men, one young and one old in my house, just kept going and flicking them back on. And I was like, yeah, why are they popping, guys? Like, why are we just turning them back on? And so I called the electrician, and I think he was like, ma'am, you need to go. You need to go to your fuse box. I was like, I know what a fuse box is, sir. I know how to flip a switch. This is not that. Something's wrong. And, he kept telling me fuse box, fuse box. So finally, I went the few blocks and actually walked in to the business and just said, hi, I know I've been bothering you on the phone, but like I am very worried about this. Like I'm smelling something, now fuses are blowing, and I know how to use the fuse box. So um, I need somebody to come look at it. I'm sorry if you and he sighed like like he was just like, oh, dumb girl, she really doesn't know what the fuse box is. I'm gonna walk in there and show her. But he was a nice enough man, right, that he was like, okay, I'll follow you, and he owned the whole company, right? um I'll follow you there. I'll follow you there. I know the wiring really well. I'll follow you there. I was like, okay. So just a few blocks. So I got back home. I had already called the doctor's place or the testing place to say if I have to reschedule, you know, how many hours ahead do I have to reschedule, before I like lose the, because it was a scanning center. So it wasn't one of those things where it's 24 hours. It's like 4 hours or 3 hours or whatever. And they'd given me a time frame. And so I was still in that window of time. And so anyway, I went home the 2 blocks from the electrician's place, like, opened my front door, left it, open just with the screen closed, and went through my house and let the dogs out in the back, and that's how much time I had. And then the man, from the electrician's place came busting in through my front door screaming when I was back in my kitchen. He's like, ma'am, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, fire just burst out of the roof of your house, your entire roof is in flames. I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I should have listened to you, I'm so sorry. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I don't love that, but thank you. He's like, I'm calling 911. And I was like, okay, I'm going to start getting my animals. So I went to the backyard and like got 3 dogs and went and put them in my car. And then I went back in the house, like I was sort of trying to watch the structure. I went back in the house and got, um, all but one of my cats. And I knew that where she was hiding, and that likely, very likely, this was going to be like the one of the few places maybe where fire couldn't reach. So I couldn't get her to come out. And the man was like, "What are you doing? Get out of the house!" And I was like, "I still have just a minute or two. Like, I'm looking for her." But so anyway, the second I stepped out the front door, right, and realized she'd probably be okay. Well, sort of, I had Angel sort of say she'd be okay too, but I stepped out the front door, and like the ceiling in the living room, the bathroom, the entryway, one of the bedrooms just collapsed. The whole ceiling fell in. Let's see here. I need to go chat.
And when did you reschedule that test?
Oh, well, so I called them. I called them, like, he called the firemen, right? So, and he managed to call my father before I did because I was hauling pets outside. Um, and and so then I called the office of the scan place and just said, "Hey, I called you earlier. I think I'm going to need to reschedule." And she said, "Okay, well, you just made it within the time frame. Can I ask why you're rescheduling?" And I said, "Well, my house is on fire." She said, "Right now?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Was it earlier when you called?" I said, "No, but I was really worried it was going to be." And then she sort of laughed and was like, "Did you set the fire?" I was like, "No, no, I didn't set the fire." No, that's not why I was worried. So yeah, that's how that's how my house burned down and the fireman
It's
came
kind of like Pixie's brother-in-law. Are you sure you didn't punch him?
in.
Is
Yeah,
that really an allergy?
yeah. So see, yes. But anyway, I went and got that test later because it was a scanning center, so they were open till like 9 p.m. and this was like 11 a.m. Um, and so I said,
So
"Can
you
I
you
call back?"
actually went the same day then?
I did
Yeah,
because,
yeah. I thought
you know,
so.
the thing I learned that day, right, is like when the fire is still burning, the city is pulling your gas. I mean, of course, they're turning your gas off. That's very smart. But they're also putting a ginormous lockbox on it, from the city, and already it's still burning, and they're putting stickers on all my windows that the house is unlivable, right? And so, you know, I think I took I waited. I mean, I waited for the fire to be out and for like the fire marshal, I guess, came because she did, and they also sent a female employee because it was all men, and they said, well, because you're here with all men, like it was some policy to send a female. So she came and was like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Yeah, I think so." Um, I had this lovely neighbor, next door neighbor, that I loved him very much. He was an older man. Um, and he was sort of a little guardian angel of sorts. And he was not a man of many words, but he came out into the middle of the street, looked at my house, and he said, "Pretty big fire." I said, "Yeah." And then he just took my hand. He just held my hand, which was really sweet. Um, Yeah, and so then eventually I got my doggies to, I think, my parents' house, and my two kitty cats. Tried to find my other kitty, and I could hear her, like she would answer me, but she wouldn't come out. So I knew she was okay. And so yeah, then I went. I went to my appointment. Okay, let's see here. I want to do what everybody's saying. Swears I punched him. Oh my, that stuff is bad. Makes me wonder if an antihistamine would help. Yeah, that's a good question. Fire is very specific. Scent will pick. I don't know, Cat. The option isn't helping much. That's not good. Yeah, just investigate why. Find the source. Thank you, Angie. Can't stand passive aggressive people. The oxygen gave it life. Oh my, crazy. That was close. Nana nana boo boo. I don't know what the nana nana boo boo is. Oh, you mean like to the guys? Like where it's like, yeah, guess what? I did know what a fuse box was and that there was fire in my house. Like I wasn't a dumb girl that was like, sir, my lights go out and I don't know what to do. Like, no, there's a ginormous fire, mister. And he felt terrible. My father also felt terrible because he's a structural, mechanical, and chemical engineer. He was in a very high, he worked for a very, okay, I'm not going to say that on the internet. That would be stupid. Anyway, he worked for a big place, and he's very specific. And so there was apparently one wire in that house because it was a HUD house that I'd purchased that we then did a lot of like, sort of new things on just to make sure because it was had been sitting there a while empty and stuff. So it was the one wire they hadn't replaced because they thought it looked really solid, and I guess it was central too. So since they sort of thought too, okay, it will be sort of it's a bigger pain in the butt to replace, and it's really solid. I guess they had all tested it with lots of doohickeys, right? Nothing had gone wrong, but it was that wire. Well, I mean, I'm sure the oxygen did give it life to a certain degree, but um, also, you know, it had been clearly um, it had been burning in the attic space at a low level, probably for, I don't know, like they said something like 8 to 10 hours, like a small little fire. And for whatever reason, it didn't move quickly. Something about some sort of lead something up there, not like lead-based paint or anything like that, but lead objects, or I don't really remember, but yes, smoldering. Thank you. That's exactly right. Um, so Pixie, did he take like Benadryl? Like, are you saying it's not helping much because he's tried it, or is it like he doesn't want to try it, or? Oh, I've got guides now talking about something, and I want to Google it. Always when it's health stuff, I want to Google it and to see if it makes any sense. I'll just say what they're talking about, but of course, everyone here, there's actual nurses here, so they'll know right away. But they're talking about castor oil since it's in and around his eyes. It's on the list. Oh my gosh. Um, this is a list called 15 Natural Home Remedies for Poison Ivy, Oak, and Sumac, right? And 15 natural ways to relieve the itch. So, number one on the list is apple cider vinegar. Number two is castor oil. Number three is oatmeal paste. Number four is baking soda paste. Three is an herbal compress with castor oil, but you put herbs in the castor oil. Then there's turmeric and lemon juice, banana, Himalayan salt, watermelon rind. That's not one I've ever heard of. burdock root tea, jewel weed, which I don't know either, witch hazel, um, oh, and aloe vera gel, calendula oil, and magnesium, like Epsom salts. Oh, I've had shingles a couple times at my age. It's weird a little bit, but it's because of the autoimmune. And I don't think there's a good place to have them, but I can only imagine what you're inferring. And I don't know. That's terrible. Wait, is it? It's not one of the twins, is it? It's not the. I'm one of the twins. It's not the twin, is it? Because the other one's in non-physical, so she probably doesn't have shingles. That was a dumb way for me to phrase it. Do you think your dad? I'm sorry to keep asking, Pixie, but I have people talking in my ear. Do you think that your dad might have castor oil? 15 pounds of Epsom salts. Yeah, I mean, honestly, smart. I like that there's an Epsom salt lotion too. It's son-in-law. Oh,
Is
sister-in-law. Okay, brother-in-law.
is
Son-in-law. Okay, good lord. I'm slow. Yeah, Benadryl is definitely on the over-the-counter list. It was like first on the over-the-counter list for sleepies.
is it hard to get apple cider vinegar where you are?
Probably not, but they keep talking about castor oil is what they're talking about the most.
Right.
But I mean, I'm sure. I mean, apple cider vinegar's at the store, but I don't know. It's sort of late, and I think it's later there. I think it's the same time there as it is where you are.
Mm, it's close to midnight.
No, son-in-law made sense. It just didn't click for me for whatever reason. Um, it made me laugh when you said worse than a kid about scratching because it made me think of that old episode of Friends where Phoebe and I think it's Charlie Sheen is the guest actor, and like he's coming in town to have a visit, and she winds up having chicken pox, and so they wind up taping oven mitts on their hands so they won't scratch. Bleach water, yeah. But that blue soak, that blue. No, I don't remember the name of it, but that blue soaking stuff. So I love socializing. I wanted to give us a chance to socialize, but as we're sitting here, I'm. Does anyone here already um, have strong interest, or is anyone here in the practicum of um, you know um, using like law of attraction or studying um, manifestation techniques? Is there anyone in here that for whom it's already an interest? He must comply to one of the options. Yes, Nurse Cat says it is so, and she knows. You need to get an eye patch and like tape it on, over his like eyebrow and on this, like his temple with like duct tape or something. Okay, so you ladies are studying it. Do you guys subscribe? Is it subscribe or prescribe? I guess it doesn't matter. To a particular, like, do you watch a particular information about a particular teacher or a particular school of thought or something? Sexy pirate night. I think maybe tea tree oil would help if it wasn't in the eye, but I don't know about tea tree oil in the eye.
Yeah, close to the mucous membranes is not a good idea for tea tree oil.
Give up the booty, Wolfie.
I guess you could simply blindfold him. You don't have to make an eye patch.
Give up booty. You have poison RV. Yeah, poor guy. Like Claudia, he looks like he was in like a fist fight. One of his eyes. Makes his eyes look even more blue though. You know how different colors bring out other colors, right? How certain colors of brown and pink bring out blue color tones. It makes his eyes look way more vivid. It's like a real bird is nature's beautiful eyeshadow.
Well, they do say that beauty is pain.
You must suffer for the beauty.
I'm interested in manifestation as well. So I'm keen to see what kind of exercises you have.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. Some of them, like I sort of said earlier, are going to be that's why the classes are private, right? So we can keep our curriculum sort of our curriculum, and also so that, anytime it's like um, involves adult play and sort of a need to be like brave in a free spirited sort of goofy way, right? Um, Certainly I would be really intimidated to do that on a live stream if it were me. And so to make, to make it, such that everybody is relaxed enough to actually be functional in the realm of you know manifesting, right? You can't be tense. It's not, at least it's not advisable, right, to be in an intense, too much of an intense state in order to manifest, right? It's sort of letting go and letting God, or letting go and letting the universe,
Yeah, be in a
and
kind of flow state, I guess.
I think a lot of people think, because you hear manifestation and it's like I'm manifesting, and I hear a lot of people say it like like it's like they're really pushing, like it's
Yeah,
like they're hard work at the gym and they're lifting weights and stuff, and while it absolutely requires focus, right? It's a certain kind of meditative focus where it's actually detachment rather than attachment. And so when I see all these people talking like really intensely, like I'm manifesting, it's like, probably no, you're not. I mean, unless these sort of aggressive sounds and faces you're making are because it's so hard. It is so hard to figure out how to both really want something to happen and to also completely let go of it.
yeah,
um, that's a really hard thing to do. Once it starts to happen, I think any one of us that have experienced that in any way, but it's amazing. But you really have to experience it in a very like clear way. It has for it to click, right? It has to have happened. I mean, it happens to everybody every single day of their lives, right? However, in a more, if it's conscious practice and it's cultivating this as like a personal strength and as a way to, sort of uh, steer is not quite the right word, but um, I keep thinking of a boat, right? How to sort of
Yeah,
indirectly guide
it's
your
like
boat through the
sailing
river,
instead of
right?
rowing, I
Yeah,
guess.
finding the wind, right? You're finding
Yeah,
the wind, and you're not creating the wind. You have to
yeah.
find the wind and then leave the sails alone, and that's really hard stuff to do.
It is kind of paradoxical because you have to be relaxed, but you also have to have a kind of persistence, but not a forceful one, you know? So
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah, well, yes, you do. You have to be, well, I don't know. Well, we talk about this a lot privately. I'm huge Abraham Hicks person. But, way before Abraham Hicks, I watched as much of the Seth tapes as, I could find, which is not much. And now I'm really, Bashar is growing on me awfully quickly. Um, and that's some of that stuff I probably would have considered extremely out there. Um, and even sometimes when I don't necessarily think I completely believe in all of the minutia, it doesn't matter because if they're able to teach in a way that it is benefiting my life, I don't care. I don't care by what viewpoint they do it.
right.
But it's hard. Like it's hard to reach that place where you don't care. There's a lot of letting go. See, so hold on here. Meditation, yes. Cat spin meditation. She even had a lovely lady on YouTube who composes music for meditations and manifestations and things, make her own set of meditation tapes is so dated, right? But meant links, right? Her own music, her own meditative material just for her, which is very cool. Um, I'm sure she can tell people a lot more about it because it's her thing. But 12 hours for all people to leave, but some are trapped in mud. Yeah. Okay, that's cool, Wolfie. Oh, you've got a friend there, Kat? So I don't know. I think everybody's different, of course, but because of the way it's structured, right? Because they sprawl out to a certain degree, and there are sort of home camps for different groups, and general camps, for newcomers and things like that, and many different sound stages, and some of them have to be kind of far away from like that beautiful. I can't remember if they call it a chapel or a temple, but they erect one every single year, um, that becomes like a place of meditation and worship. And it has to be awfully far from a lot of the sound stages because it's meant to be silent. So a lot of times I think about some festivals, oh, heck no. But, in terms of Burning Man, I've always thought, if wellness wasn't necessarily an obstacle for me or distance, I might be okay with that over some other type of concerts. Ah, spirit sister's daughter is there. Is she? Have you heard about if she's okay? I mean, I'm sure you would have told us if you hadn't. But like, is she one of the many in the stuck throng? Yeah, I mean, I think it's smart. Like the people that go and have their own unique spaces, that's the way to do it. And it's, incredibly expensive in a lot of ways, but a lot of people spend their entire year prepping the theme for their, entry into the parade and the theme for their camp. And there's so many artists that do
Sounds like
installation
carnival over
art.
here.
I mean, it's really interesting. I don't know. I mean, I know there's a lot of overlap with Carnival, right? But like, I'm not sure. Like, do you guys also, is there like a huge spiritual, like a silent, meditative spiritual element to Carnival as well?
Not explicitly, there may have been in the early iterations of Carnival, uh, but I'm not so sure about now.
Yeah, I was wondering. Because, I mean, the things, of course, about Burning Man that appeal to me have changed throughout the years, right? But, like, the sunrise, like, meditation prayer group, right? That appeals to me. And, I'm only into sunrise if I'm still up. So that's a perfect crowd for me. And then, um, the I can't remember if they call it a temple or a chapel or maybe both. The way it's sort of developed and progressed and advanced over the years, and now like every year it's enormous, and people bring things from loved ones that passed away that year, and they add it to the walls of the chapel, and they spend hours there, like mourning and meditating and energetically spending time with you know, the people that are now in non-physical and with other people that are experiencing similar things. And then people are also using that for things that they're trying to let go of in their life, even if it's not, the loss of a loved one in such a direct way, right? Other types of separations or addictions or whatever, because at the end, um, actually, Burning Man for a long time, of course, they burn the big art installation of the man every year, and it's always different. But now, apparently, in like the last couple of decades or last decade and a half or something, the bigger event is the burning of the chapel, because once you leave all of those things there, and it's beautiful, like this, when it's built, it is its own piece of art, and then people add art to it throughout the whole entire process. And so then people stand for many hours and just stare, because once it's set on fire, right? Um, you've talked about some of this, and I'm not going to like make you speak about it publicly, Joe, but you've talked about certain aspects of your familial background and
Well,
mourning. And
I think Burning Man is different things to different people because what you're describing, I don't know if everybody goes to Burning Man for that. For a lot of people, it's music, it's hipster culture,
yeah, yeah,
it's a rich dude kind of thing, if it
right.
has spiritual undertones to it, then there's probably a subculture in there that subscribes to that and treats it in that way,
I mean, in
but
terms of Burning Man, I don't think at this juncture, I don't think I'd call it subculture, because, I watched the footage. There's 7,000 people standing stock still, crying and hugging in like this silent group thing for hours while that thing burns, because they're all releasing um, pain and loss. And it's like this, and again, of course, 7,000 people is still just a drop in the bucket. You're right in terms of how many people are there.
yeah, so I think it is a subculture. I mean, a big one, but everything is in context. If you think about how many people go there, and it's almost like a status symbol to some people to say that I go to Burning Man every year or what have you. So I don't know. I mean, like I said, it probably means different things to different people. You know.
Oh, I totally agree. And certainly, even just the same person, if they go every year, like they experience it very different at 60 than they did when they were 27.
How many years has it been running?
Golly, I mean, it's been a really long time. Now I'm going to look up the exact year. hold on here.
I mean, it probably serves the same purpose like pilgrimage did for people in earlier times and in different cultures, because um, in the UK, there are lots of holy sites and churches and stuff that people used to go to pilgrimage on.
So
Um,
86 was the first year.
well,
So
that's quite a while.
2016. So 38 years or something like that. That was
Yeah,
not great math, but
yeah, around that.
um, I think that's funny though. Wolfie said because of everything that went down this year, they never even burned the Burning Man. I wonder if they burned the chapel, or if like literally everything was, you know, too damp to adhere to their traditions. I've watched a lot of documentaries about it because a lot of people that are artisans go there. So at least, oh, like every year, there's at least 2 or 3 camera crews that go and document their experience there, right? So, and some of them literally are just documenting their own personal trek and what they're interested in, and some are going around, of course, and interviewing as many people as many groups as they can, and it's really interesting. Even just like the weather patterns, like they always know that they're going to lose 2 or 3 days minimum to sandstorms where they all need to be prepared and stocked up with food, and the food tents pre-cook things and things so that people can take them in coolers to their tents because they need to really stay there because you could get torn up in those in those sandstorms. Hey, Miss Claudia, thank you for subscribing to this channel. I appreciate it. It just popped up. Thank you to anyone who has subscribed, everyone. So I don't know how many of you, since we're not doing readings and stuff and people are growing quiet, there's probably other live streams that are more engaging right now, especially, and other things that you guys could be doing. But a couple of things. So by next week, all of you guys who are regulars, um, I'll be posting. I think we definitely are in that first hour on Monday next week. We're going to do vision boards, dream boards, whatever you want to call them. Um, and if there's a specific category or something, of course, I'll let you all know in advance or whatever. And so, yeah, in the first hour, in the public hour, we'll be doing something like that. And then I'll let you guys, I'll send an email probably that sort of explains what at least the first private space class probably will involve, like, us sort of doing a mock-up, because I understand that people may not know exactly what it is, so they might want to, like, it's sort of like watching somebody do something in order to learn what it is or whatever. Some of the exercises, so like we might do mock exercises or something, prepare that so people can just see, so that if they then want to sign up to have like an individualized curriculum written for them for the next week, or you'll understand it more at that time. But we're going to do mood boards in the public segment, and then Wednesday will be normal reads, and then Friday, again, I know that those other lives on my other channel, a lot of them have been privated just because they got to be so long and things. But anybody that can think of cases for Kat and I to talk about next or this coming Friday, please leave them in the comments here or text or email or something. The comments would be better because then we could just see, you guys could literally like thumbs up each other's stuff too. We could see what people like the most. And it doesn't have to necessarily just be, it doesn't have to be cold cases. It can be current cases, cold cases, solved cases, just because we're going to be, looking at it from different angles as well. It could also be um, other things, other conceptual things, right? Like it could be like a whole concept like trafficking or well, I think trafficking covers a lot of different bases because it's a big umbrella term, but 17-year-old missing from the national area. Yeah, so if you would please, just because I don't know if I'll always remember. I'm writing it down, but if you would leave it in the comments, like if you just even know like their name or just even female or male or whatever, if you don't know their name, but if you leave it in the comments, then I can come back and comment under you, hey, I found this person, is that who you're speaking of, and then I think if we get a lot of options, Kat and I will talk about it, right? Because if there's a strong feeling about something, of course, that's what we'll just do. But if it's sort of a toss-up, we might use rods or something like that to get the input of the guides and angels to see what they think we could be most useful, like which of these projects, in which area we would be most serviceable in generally speaking. And I think Fridays are going to be I think they're going to be at 8 Central instead of 8:30 Central, but I'm looking to Kat to confirm that. DG, okay. But yeah, I mean, honestly, just leaving it, if you get a chance to leave it in the comments too, because then other people who are not here, and there's a handful of people who are going to be participating in Mondays and Fridays, maybe more than the rest of the stuff. They can then vote or comment. You guys can, talk about it too, because you all have your own gifts and interests, and I think everyone here pretty much has at least a certain connection to some sort of crime, because I think almost every single one of us met originally because of the Summer Wells case. She said it's best if type in the chat spots. I don't know what that means. Or type in chat. Okay. Is it, I'm trying to understand, is it something like you're nervous to leave a public comment about or something? Or maybe it's just flying over my head.
It probably would be easier to locate it if it was in the comments, but
Right, but if it's something like, I mean, I don't know, like if it's something like that they 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 think shouldn't be publicly commented, you know what I mean? I don't know what the case is. Oh, I see. Okay, I get it. Right now you can't leave comments because we're live. I get it now. Yeah, once the live ends, then you can leave comments just like you can under any other normal video.
yeah, that makes sense.
So that's that. I get it. I get it. I didn't get it at first. I was like, is this like what is this crime? Like, or who is this person? Like. So, because this has gotten ramblier and a little longer than I intended, but still, for me especially, not too bad, because We started 13 minutes into the live, so we've been rolling for like an hour and 23 minutes. It's not too terrible. Um, how many, because I don't want to tell this story too many times, how many of you did I tell about my friend from the sky? Because it is something I want to share for a number of reasons. But if everyone here, I don't think everyone here has heard that, and if they have, they've just heard me say it very strangely in passing. But I also don't want to repeat a whole long thing if everybody's already heard about it. Also, yesterday was really interesting energy too because just kicking it. I mean, like guides and spirits and stuff are always, they're omnipresent, and it's been an interesting couple of days. Even just the last day and a half for me because um, well, an angel just plumb walked across my backyard today with a squirrel, which was interesting. Um, and then with Joe, again, Joe's always pretty quiet about any kind of readings he's ever gotten and stuff. So unless he
No,
talks,
I'll tell you. We had a pretty long conversation with my grandfathers. One of whom he died less than 10 years ago, and he was over 100, and the other one died in 81. So I barely knew him. And well, for family reasons, I barely knew either of them really. But we had uh, it really opened my eyes up to like what their lives were like and their perspective on things. And I found that, you know, generations have a weird sort of pattern sometimes that if it doesn't repeat itself exactly, it sort of rhymes. And a lot of that was going on. And I found places where I felt empathy for them, where, before based on just family stories and stuff, I didn't have any. So it was quite revealing. It was pretty interesting, and I think one of my grandparents really amused you. I think you had fun.
oh, I
You
mean,
had
they're
a little
both
fun with
charming
them.
gentlemen, right? But your paternal grandfather is like he's a firebrand. Um,
He was a bootlegger in his younger days.
You
You
talked
know.
about it, right? Because I
Yeah.
asked, I was like, "Did you guys have prohibition?" Because he's showing me these trucks that run alcohol, and Joe was like, "No, but he made his own rum." And it was like, "Oh," so it was one
Which
of
is illegal. Right? He made rum and he made guns, but he made his guns for his own hunting purposes. He never sold guns or anything like that. Right? In fact, he taught my grandmother to shoot, just for self defense, because they lived in a very rough part of the countryside. So he is probably like, not exactly, but kind of like a hillbilly in the U.S.
those,
Where
like Appalachia more than
right,
yeah, more than yeah.
yeah. So, but I know stories that he used to make his own alcohol, and most of my cousins that live in that area, they hunt up to this day. So it's that sort of culture. It's a lot of guns, religion, and booze.
Well, and I think it was really a relief to me, right? Because when you don't know them that well, it's hard for me to be like, okay, like how much of
Yeah,
this is
because
me messing up? But they hit enough
we
points, like they literally just pulled your father's birth year just right
yeah,
out
I
of
was just
there,
going to say that. We were talking about a time that my grandmother may have fallen sick, and she pulled out the birth year, that my dad was born in, and she has no idea how
No,
old my father
I
was
don't.
or is, because he's still around, um, on this side. But she just said that year, and I was like, yeah, that's the year he was born.
And
And
then he was
so
just clear with that booze truck too, man. Like he looked like a gangster in a movie, like running barrels of
And
booze.
he was very proud of that. He was, a lot of times people are kind of repentant for their wild youth and that kind of thing. But my grandfather, and I think it suits his personality. Of what little I know, he was he thinks the law shouldn't meddle in people's personal lives,
Very much so, yeah.
and that sort of healthy disrespect for authority. I think I may have inherited that from the old man, you know. So but it was fun to be able to see his perspective on a lot of things, because a lot of his ideas and stuff I got it more secondhand from stories my father would tell me, so I never really interacted with him, especially as an adult. My the days I interacted with him, I was probably like 7 or 8 or something. I mean, he told me a story that had me scared of owls until I was an adult. And that was the age that we used to talk. But to understand him as a grown person, and to understand the life choices that he made, the sort of constraints that he faced, and how he looked at things, because I really felt so disconnected from both my grandparents in terms of what is it that I got from them, and what is it that is just me, and it was really, really eye opening to
You must
see
have
how
asked that
much.
question internally really loud lately, right? It must have been something you were really thinking about
Well,
because
it's something that I've been wondering most of my life, to be honest. You know, because well, my grandmother, my father's mother, died before I was even born. My mom's mother died before I was even born, and my mother was raised by two brothers. So uh, her biological father and his brother, and she talked of both of them like they were her parents, and I didn't know one. One died when I was about 6. One of those grandmothers died when I was 4, and the other one died before I was born. So, in terms of the generations, I was very sort of disconnected from them in terms of actual experience. So I always wondered, uh, because the way they were described, I thought, well, we wouldn't have much in common, you know. But it was quite the opposite, I, I learned quite a lot, and that was a really interesting experience, and I hope to learn more, as time goes by.
well, I kept wondering if it was Grandparents' Day, like International Grandparents' Day or something, because we weren't doing a reading.
No, we were just talking,
They
and they
just
just showed up.
launched in, like it showed
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
Oh my gosh! So Kat's grandmother made wine, her maternal grandmother, and then Pixie says, the whole, where your grandfather was sounds like where she's from,
Mm.
and then Kat says her relationship with her dad's family was like that.
My brother used to make wine as a kid, and we didn't know, where that came from. He just learned in school that, it's possible to make wine by using these things. And so he started making wine, and he would set his wine for like 12 months. And so every Christmas people would look forward to get a bottle of wine from my brother. My brother was a teenager, so that kind of bootleg spirit. I guess he got it from the old man for sure, because nobody told him anything about our grandfather and about making alcohol or anything. It's just something that he did out of his own interest, So I'm sure that tickled the old man.
Oh, I bet. I bet he loved that. I mean, he talked about how your brother was like another one of his sons, and
Yeah.
that wild streak probably ran through them. Just But yeah, so apparently most of the ladies here have at least some relationship dynamic in their family that's familiar in the way you were just discussing.
Oh yeah, I mean, and that side of my family, they like a lot of things that I think people from the south would resonate with. Even the kind of country music and stuff. They love that stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I think as Americans, we don't like expect people along, close to the equator, in Caribbean island nation type areas to listen to country music.
No, and those they'd have like these traveling faith revival people that would put up a tent and play music and preach and that kind of stuff. That was really big, where my grandfather's from. So like when I read Huckleberry Finn, there's so much that I could relate to from my grandfather's from where he lived. Um, there was a lot of that, including confidence tricksters and or, uh, all this stuff that happens in that universe that Mark Twain talked about. It was there.
Yeah, wasn't your little brother referred to as Tom Sawyer or the mayor of?
Oh yeah, my brother was definitely a Tom Sawyer type. I mean, to this day, he still is. Um,
Yeah, he's always figuring out a way to like monetize and anything and then have someone else do the labor, which is amazing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh, great grandma made wine. This is Cat. They got busted. She pretended to not speak English. She had a gallon left. Cop held it. She broke it with a hammer.
Oh yeah, my grandfather would respect that definitely.
He'd be like, "What a woman."
And it's funny because my dad said that he just gave up living. Nothing was wrong with him. He wasn't ill or anything. He said there's no place for him anymore because he used to hang around with these guys. There was a time he started drinking again and then he stopped. And we're talking about a man over 100 years old, and he would go hunting with them, but then they stopped taking him because he was slowing them down. And the year that he died, a few months before, I asked my father, I said, "Well, how is the old man?" He said, "Well, let me put it to you this way." He asked me, "Do you want any oranges?" And while my dad went to look for a pole to pick the oranges, my grandfather was up the tree throwing oranges down to him, you know. And then 3 months later, he was gone. I think he sort of just decided that I've had enough, and it's time to move on, because there was absolutely nothing wrong with him, you know. Um, my grandmother died, like I said, before I was born, but when he turned around 70, my granddad decided maybe he should get married again. And he did for a little while, and he didn't like it. And so he separated with the lady, and, he carried on being himself, So,
Which was enough personality for 10 selves. So, okay, Kat said she hit it with a hammer because then there was no evidence, right? The cat was born on her birthday, and then Pixie's great grandfather was a mason.
wow.
So their family's real deep, just like yours.
Yeah, I know. I think our ancestors would get along. They would sit around the table and you know uh, have a drink and enjoy themselves. I'm sure, pretty sure of that. I mean, my mother's father was a bit different. I think he was more of a dandy.
Oh, yeah. He,
you know,
he said that of himself.
yeah, he was extremely stylish, and well, he used
Uh-oh.
to.
Okay, hold on, Claudia. I'm sorry. Keep going, Joe. I'm responding to Claudia's trying to email me.
Yeah, well, he was more of the put together sort of, dress up, um, especially in the way those gentlemen in the 1940s used to dress, with a fedora and these slacks with creases that could cut, and starched white shirts and that kind of stuff. That was his kind of thing, you know. So he would be more like, I guess, Clark Gable and uh, Spencer Tracy and those kinds of guys.
Oh yeah, he's okay. Claudia, I sent you one. I think it went through, so you should get an email from me so that you can track the whatever the email address. I don't know why my brain. So Pace was the Mason's favorite great grandkid, and then Claudia says my grandmother was 18 and grandfather was 50. Neither drank. Yeah, my paternal grandmother was 15. Uh, her husband was. It's never been completely clear. I think he was not 40 yet, but not great in my opinion. He also wasn't nice. Maybe if he'd been really nice, it might have been a little different for the time, but
And my grandmother had my mom when she was into her 40s, and she died when mom was about 8. So um, she was more or less raised by her uncle and aunt, who lived one street down. So she was sort of shared between those two houses. And while individually they were not by any means wealthy, they used to always pool their resources, and so mom never really went for wanting anything, and she sort of inherited the old man's taste for good clothes and stuff like that. So they used to dress up like a young Elizabeth Taylor, you know, and
okay, I
and
got
she,
it. Claudia, I'm sorry to interrupt. I got
no, no.
the link or the information. The only thing I don't see is okay, no, I do see. I was like wondering about the missing date, but it's um I see it.
And so while my father, he was one of like 5 or 6 kids. My mother was an only kid that was raised between two houses. So they grew up quite differently.
Okay, I'm forwarding the case to you, Kat. You might have already received it from her, but just in case. Let's see. Kat says, "Oh, Grandma was 16 and Grandpa 18. Yeah, so they were both bebés. Ooh, in some ways it was lovely. You see those end results of those relationships years later, and a lot of them are amazing. But it still sounds really like a challenge, a big challenge to me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what age my grandparents were when they were married, but I know at that time it was very, very customary. I had a landlady that told me, she was 9 years old. They woke her up in the middle of the night. They put tattoos on her forearms, and there was a ceremony, and then they sent her back to bed. And she had just gotten married. You know, she
I
wouldn't
think you
live
said
in.
yesterday they would wake them up, tattoo them, and say, "You're married now," and then
Yeah,
send them back to bed.
send them back to bed. Yeah. There would have been like some kind of ceremony that she would have been half asleep through. And, she's married now. She wouldn't live with the boy until they were like 16 or something, but at the age of 9, they were married.
So
um
what did they do? Like, did they then have like did they keep them socializing together like every day from that point, or did they let them be kids and they just
No, they
knew that?
let them be kids. They were just they continued being kids, but they knew that this is what your future is going to be. This is who you're going to marry, you know. And it was customary that the girl lived with the boy's family, so she knew that when you're I don't know 14, 15, 16 or whatever, you're going to move into your father-in-law's house. That was the way back then. Now, my grandfather was very different. He was very forward thinking with respect to my mother, because he told her, you will marry who you want to marry when you want to marry them. You know,
Yeah, he
and
explained a lot of why that might be yesterday. I think.
and uh, there were stories. The village used to tell me these stories, that there used to be cars upon cars that would line up on the street with young men wanting to marry my mom, because she was she used to sing, she was a very good singer, and even people from the radio stations and stuff, they were interested in having her sing, and that kind of thing. And so she used to sing in weddings and stuff as well. My Mimi used to sing in weddings too, but that's a different kind of singing, a different kind of. I'll tell you that story another time, if time ever permits. But
Oh,
those,
absolutely, like Wednesdays and potentially Saturdays, right? When we'll
yeah,
be doing like reading readings. That'd be a great time.
yeah. But mom was she was quite popular, and she had lots of suitors. And my grandfather, well, her uncle, he would tell her, I will let you decide, and you know you're under no pressure to marry, you know young or anything like that. In fact, his dream was for her to be a working person. He wanted her to be a nurse, and to be self-sufficient and so on, which was very much against the grain in terms of how people thought of their daughters in that time. You usually want your daughter to have a good match, marry somebody with some means and some social status and so on, and that would be your security. But he he was different, um, and so it was quite unexpected when she chose my father, because he was just this poor hillbilly type guy, right? But yeah, but yeah, yesterday's conversation was quite eye opening.
Well, and I still don't have no idea why yesterday was their day. I wish I understood that, because if I understood the pattern, then maybe, for other people that want readings, I could be like, oh, actually, I know. I'm understanding the pattern of when it's going to be like a really day, a good day.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean,
but the family decides. I think that's how it's been like with anybody here who I've read family much of. The family seems to decide like I'm coming through today. Like,
yeah,
okay.
because my grandfather's grandfather on my dad's side, he came from India, and he was pretty successful there because he was a religious scholar. He traveled around the country, spoke many different languages, and knew how to read and write, right? And he found out that the British had this opportunity for you to make money in Fiji. You go to Fiji, you work for a few years, and then you could come back home, right? And so he went to Fiji, of all places, didn't like it there, and then decided, you know what, I'm going to go to Trinidad. And so he comes to the Caribbean, um, and next thing you know, I mean, he had a wife and 5 kids in India, but he met a woman, had 5 kids in Trinidad, and never went back. And because they learned that he could read and write, instead of like manual labor, he was he did accounting for the cocoa estate, um, but he thought that um, in the colonies, somebody that was educated would be able to rise up and do well for themselves, but realized very quickly that because of systemic racism and stuff like that, there was nowhere for him to go. And he thought that at least in this part of the world, it was better to have land and be a farmer than be an educated a scholarly type of person. And my father sort of broke that because he became an accountant. Just like our ancestor did accounting. My dad actually became an accountant, and he said he chose that job because it was the only one you could work and study at the same time. um, so I guess there were some cycles that were broken and some that were sort of reestablished, in the family with my father. But yeah, we sort of went from religious scholars to
Wait a second.
laborers and farmers.
Claudia,
And
are you saying Grandparents' Day is this coming Sunday or was it yesterday? I'm sorry to interrupt, but
no, it's fine.
I mean, there's all these cool. I don't know if you're seeing the chat. There's all these cool. Um, Pixie said they helped take care of me. Talking about grandfather was a farmer, but great grandfather was a farmer, but also a Freemason. They helped take care of me during kindergarten. Mom had horrible female problems. I just wasn't physically able to care for me, but we lived on the opposite side of the drive from them. They were very special to me. We were very close. And then Claudia talked to me about the case she emailed, and then Kat said, "My mom is in heaven with her 3 exes and old boyfriend. LOL, Queen Bee." Pixie says he broke the cycle. Then Claudia said, "Kat, he sounds like, or she sounds like my mother, except for she has 4 husbands and she's not dead yet." And then Kat said, "My grandparents lived 2 doors down. Mom had to work 2 to 3 part-time jobs, so they kept an eye on us." Then Claudia said, "Grandparents' Day is in October, I think. My grandmother raised us." I'm wrong. Grandparents' Day is Sunday.
Oh
Pick
wow.
That was the
Okay.
little guy. I know it's coming up. My grands have a luncheon coming up. I was referring to your grandfather and your mom getting to choose who to marry. Okay, so
All
breaking the
right. Breaking the
uh,
cycle in that sense. Yeah, it's true. Another thing about my grandfather's grandfather is apparently he had some of your abilities. He was able to talk to those on the other side and stuff. But according to my grandfather, he was much more theatrical about it.
oh yeah, he talked a lot about how he made a big show of it. Lots of, and I mean, he called him out on it. I didn't, right? A lot of fake speaking in tongues and a lot of physical acting and things, but it
Well,
was
I guess he had to make the money somehow.
well, it was a real like, ability, right? But that's
Yeah,
how people back then, especially, they didn't believe it unless certain things were happening, right? There was
right.
a stereotype, and so he really
He
sold
played
it.
into it. Yeah, yeah,
So Grandparents' Day, would it be a week from the day that they came to visit? It makes me
yeah.
feel like are they trying to set up a Grandparents' Day thing with you or something because they came like a week in advance, like, "Hey, wanted to touch base with you because you know it's coming up. You know who could deserve a present? Us."
Well, I don't know. I mean, it was just totally unexpected. You know, it was really interesting because it's like you found out more about yourself than you ever thought you could know. You know, so that was really nice. And I think my grandfather, my dad's dad, he sort of put on the charm on you a little bit.
Well, they're both. very charming, right? I kept talking about your maternal grandfather, like the smile, right? The snow white hair and um, very dapper dresser, right? But just, like if we had ever existed together in physical, right? We would have been he would have been we probably would have been fairly disinterested in each other, right? Because he was very, um, like I said, dapper. He viewed, you know, the way you appear in public as to just really wasn't just vanity. It was tied to self-care and cultivating a family legacy and all that. And I understand all of
Yeah,
that.
I would have been a disappointment to him because I prefer to be comfortable, you know. So, so yeah,
Oh, Kat was talking about your great grandfather or great great, I can't remember, but anyway, like Whoopi in Ghost, right? When I don't know if you've seen Ghost. Have you seen Ghost? Because if not, we might
yeah,
watch it together.
I've seen bits of it. I haven't seen the whole story. My mother went to cinema to see it, but I didn't. But I know the story. I know she
So
was a
yeah,
medium.
well,
Is
she
that
was sort of a fake medium, right? And they were running game on people that rolled up to their psychic shop, and so
yeah,
then when she started hearing a real spirit, she was like, "What's happening?" Because she
yeah,
was really performative, right? And it was really really extreme. And then a real dead person started talking to her. Yeah, it is a wonderful movie. I agree with both of you.
yeah. So I had a medium in my bloodline, way back when. Um, and they say he was an interesting guy because he suffered from wanderlust. He didn't like to stay in one place for too long, and actually died sort of disappointed because he felt like he was trapped in Trinidad.
Well,
Um,
Kat is not, she's not somebody that has huge wanderlust, but I'm bringing this up because I have a point. But she has a couple of places, right, in the United States that really call to her all the time, right?
mm,
And we talked about it at a couple of points because there are all these different types of empaths and soul searchers and things, and one is called like a grid worker, and they're sort of born to energetically um, sort of move between a set number of points on a map, like where they live, where they generate their energy, right? They're
yeah,
called to some places, and sometimes it could be that the person in your family you're talking about was very much a grid worker and then got stuck somehow and kept feeling the pull and the call of another place.
but couldn't go. Yeah, I think that's likely. That's possible. I know that there are places that I have traveled to that I've felt a sort of connection to, and I don't necessarily feel like I'm rooted to any one place permanently, but there are certain places that resonate with me, you know. So that sort of makes some sense to me.
Yeah, because I don't remember. It was like a quiz we took, is how it originally started. Kat and I took a quiz, or we're talking about, hey, what do you think you are, or whatever. And then some lady also, we found a video where she talked about all the different types. And I know for sure one of the ones Kat was very strongly was a grid worker.
Hmm.
There were two or three other things. She had more diversity than I did. It was like, okay, I'm these two things, and I suck at all the others on this list. And she had, I think, three or four, and I was like, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Um, okay, I need to take a quick break, and then when I come back, I would like to talk about when the sky visited me, but please leave and then we can kill the stream for the night. But I would like to know, just raise your hand or something in the chat if you've heard it and if you don't want to hear it again, and if you haven't heard it, just let me know because if everybody's heard it, I don't want to say it, although I do want to leave it here on the video because I do think other people can hear it, but I can make a separate video also. So I don't want to waste time for people. Regardless, I'll be right back.
Yeah, I think that's what she said. The thing is, I don't know if I heard it because I'm not sure what she means. So, um, but I'm not averse to hearing it again if I did hear it. Oh, good. So it's not just me that is a little bit in the dark there. I was wondering if there's a memo that passed that I didn't get. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's kind of throwing me off as well.
Okay, hold on a second here.
We
I
don't
stayed
know who
in
you're referring
Tahoe.
to.
Hold on one second. I'm sorry. I'm just going through the what you guys said. I stayed in Tahoe for a month at a time, 4 times. It feels like a second home. Yeah, that's definitely good working. Okay, then who? I don't think I've heard the story. Okay, did she say Sky or Guy? Well, you know this, Joe. I said
No,
Sky.
actually, we're wondering what story you're referring to because we're a little confused.
Okay, you know it, but I'm not sure
Okay,
if I told everybody else.
okay,
Did she say Sky, Guy? I said Sky. And then I'm not even sure who she means. It's not well, it's not a specific
okay.
who,
I think I know what you're talking about now. Now that
right?
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't say Sky Guy, although maybe I did because I speak so quickly sometimes, but I said Sky. Um, and the reason I've been wanting to tell the story since it happened, it just was like 2 weeks ago, and it's tied to manifestation work and meditation type stuff. And I've had a lot of average meditative and manifestation type experiences, and then a very few like really extraordinary like often there've been a few times in meditations where I've actually sprouted wings, not literally, but energetically it really literally feels like they're like ripping holes in my under my shoulder blades, and then they're huge and they're heavy. I feel them, and thank goodness when I looked that particular situation up, it is something that other people experience. Paying attention to your spiritual wings is important if you have that experience. It helps you understand where they might have come from and where you might have come from. Um, and and so that was pretty trippy for me, especially the first time it happened, because I thought, am I like having an aneurysm, or you know what I mean? Like, what's going on here? Um, and it was intense. And and then it happened a few more times, right? And so that was an intense meditative manifestation type thing because it was specifically a guided meditation in a group setting, a digital group setting. Um, but we were working on manifesting certain things. And so, anyway, this was tied to manifestation work as well, and it's recent. And so that's sort of why I wanted to say it. And also, I have now Googled it a lot, just even today, and I've only found one other story that even comes close to aligning with my experience. And it's just really interesting. Um, I think maybe, yeah, Kat, I think you might be the one I did tell. Like, um, Joe knows because often we have our internet just open and it's like a window that's open between our homes all the time. And so I think we were just chilling, doing separate things. But when this started to happen, like, I think I narrated a little bit. And also, I was just like sobbing from like pure joy. And so, like, he was witnessing some aspects of that. Um, yeah, yes. See, I thought I told you, Kat. Like, I know, like, I would have told anybody, but like, we probably were all busy talking about different things at different times. But so, and like, I don't just want to tell it to tell the story, or even because it's linked to manifestation, but I think it might help people come to a universal understanding to at least a small degree of themselves and maybe be more forgiving of their own foibles and things. But it was a couple weeks ago, and I was laying in bed listening to an Abraham Hicks video. Actually, I'd selected it to send to one of our online friends, clients, um, who was getting a lot of readings and was needing a lot of support. And I was hoping that that would be some media that would be helpful. But when I send things, a lot of the time, like if you guys get things from me that are music or are links to meditative things, when I send it, I always watch it again because I'm trying to send you the energetic experience of it along with the link, and trying to send whatever love it or peace or whatever it generates in me. I'm trying to send it along with that. So if I've sent you a link, I usually listen to it like right then, um, for like energy purposes. So it was an Abraham Hicks. They have what they call rampages of joy, and it's just about really going very excitedly, sort of verbally stomping excitedly through all of the things you're appreciative of, and sometimes keeping it extremely general so you don't get tangled up in details that can mire down your progress. Sometimes getting really specific if it's a subject that's easy for you and doesn't bring up any heavy energy. But anyway, it's called a rampage of joy, and they're just talking about appreciation for the universe and love and all this stuff. And I was laying in bed and had the curtains wide open, and it was a sunny day. It was really hot. We were the hottest in the country for a long time there, and there were big fluffy white clouds in the sky. And so in the first part of the rampage of joy, I was enjoying the trees that I could see outside my window, and I was looking at them and looking at how they reach towards source and light, and how every time the breeze blows, every single part of them shimmers and dances. Everything that happens to them, they celebrate. They celebrate all of it. Like when it rains and they get really heavy and low branches, they still celebrate. They do this sort of swaying thing that looks like a different kind of dance, you know, and so they really um, take pleasure in all experiences, but also simultaneously give gratitude. And so I was enjoying watching the trees out the window, um, and trying to take their lead about just just being in love with the moment and not caring even what that meant, not even caring about the details of the moment, because the whole point is it doesn't matter what the detail is, it's to be in love with it regardless. even if it's a hard one, right? and and so I was trying to be like the trees. And so I was sending mental and sometimes verbal, like gratitude to source and the universe and saying thank you. And, you know, I was feeling very joyful and happy. And it was also just to, sidebar, um, at a time when uh, I certainly was sort of struggling with my health. And some of the times that I struggle with my health, it is just the process of, you know, what is going on with my treatment plans and things like that. But there are other times where I've messed up and I've run out of like my palliative meds early, aka like narcotics, right? And and so it's not constant, but it's not infrequent at this point. Um, Matter of fact, with manifestation, it's one of the things I've been working the most on because, when you're prescribed something that's highly addictive for, like, it's been well over 20 years in my case, and it is, most doctors agree every time it's exactly what's supposed to be happening in my body, which is great. However, just like with anything, even with chapstick, you use chapstick once a day, and then your lips get used to using that chapstick, and then they feel dry twice a day. And over time, if you don't use your chapstick, your lips are like hella dry because they stopped producing some of the natural things that keep your lips moist because you were supplying it. The same thing goes with any substance, but of course, with something like a narcotic, a lot of patients turn into medically prescribed addicts. And for years, I've been really working on the different aspects of that, and I've really managed to get control, pretty complete control, and I'm proud of any emotional response I have to that. Like, I'm not emotionally connected or tied to these substances, and I don't have like a mental dependence on them, but my body is physically dependent on them. And I've been working on that and making huge progress actually in terms of any experience, if there is a withdrawal, a window of withdrawal because I've messed up or because the pharmacy's messed up, which has happened a lot lately. Um, and I've made a lot of headway, even just in terms of starting to slowly eliminate different physical symptoms. Um, Regardless, the reason I'm taking a long time to point this out is I, in no means, in no way, in no way, no two ways about it, I certainly was not in a perfect state. And I don't even mean like, well, my health was poor. I also mean I had made a big mistake, right? I had taken too much of my medication, right? And I was disappointed in myself and um, wished I hadn't done that. And, it's a slippery slope and it is a type of addiction, even if it's not, necessarily, there's just so many different kinds, but it is, I think patients have a hard time admitting that, but it is a type of physical addiction. And had messed up. So I was really at peak imperfection, right? Like I really had made mistakes that, to me, especially in terms of things I'm trying to work on with myself, were huge because when I get that kind of sick, I can't spend as much time with my family. I'm not physically as functional. And when my body is sick on its own, yeah, that's tough. But when I've done it to myself, like I, I, I'm disappointed in that, and I should be because it's something that I should be approving, like improving, and I am, but it's hard. And so the reason it's really important for me to point out how incredibly flawed I am is because that means that this experience that I had, no matter how any of you that are here now or that are listening in the future feel about yourself in any given moment, oh my God, the universe loves you. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how bad you've effed up. It doesn't matter what's been done to you, what you've done to people. It doesn't matter. Um, it doesn't matter. God just loves you. And if you want to call God gods or the universe or source, it's all the same thing in my opinion. So I'm sorry if I'm using the wrong words for, different people, but God source, and all of God's source's collaborators just love you. And the world loves you. And the fabric of the world loves you. And the plants and the rocks, they all love you. Because here's what happened. So I was looking out the window, listening to this rampage of joy. And really, even though my body was in pain and I was disappointed in myself, I was really in a true moment of absolute blissful appreciation and just love. And so I was looking at the white fluffy clouds in the sky, and I was only looking up because I was like talking with the trees and enjoying what they do and how they are good leaders for us and stuff. So that's why I was looking up. But all of a sudden, it was so interesting. This pink cloud, it was like maybe 5 or 6 of those huge fluffy white cumulus clouds were sort of had been in front of my viewpoint for, 10 minutes or 15 minutes at that point. And it was pretty, right? And the wind wasn't moving very fast, so they'd been there a while. But this pink cloud, this beautiful pure pink cloud started to form in front of all the white fluffy cumulus clouds. And I thought, well, that's so interesting and beautiful. But this is a really weird time of day for that because it was like 11 a.m. And so it wasn't like sunset or sunrise. And so I kept trying to look at the angle of the sun to see if it was creating something or if it was shining through, I don't, or reflecting off of something. And no, no, no. It became more and more clear that a pink cloud, it was a cumulus cloud. But when I say pink, I mean almost magenta. I don't mean there were hues of pink. I mean, this was a magenta freaking cloud. And it started to form right there with all the other cumulus clouds. And after a while of looking around to try and figure it out, I just thought, you know what? No, thank you. All right, thank you for the cloud. It's so pretty. It's lovely. And then what happened next is something that I didn't even imagine could happen. So the cloud starts lowering, like it's getting lower and lower to the ground. And at first it looks like it's just going like straight down from the cumulus clouds. And I thought, well, maybe it's like a rain cloud or something, and how they can get really heavy and sort of become fog or something, because it was like, okay, it's just going straight down, below the cumulus clouds. But after a while, I realized it was not going straight down. It was coming at an angle from the point in the clouds straight towards my bedroom window. This magenta cloud was leaving, this had formed in front of my eyes in the sky and was leaving its place in the sky, and at a relatively slow descent at an angle from the sky was moving towards my bedroom window. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh." And, it was so bright and pink. And so then I thought, okay, with my health stuff and not ever wanting to tell this story to anyone and have it be misinformation, right? I started like looking in other parts of the room. I looked out the other window. I looked, through my glasses in other air. I looked at everywhere else but the window with the pink cloud just to make sure my eyes weren't seeing things pink. I thought maybe there's something wrong with my eyes. I need to check that out. Nope. Everything else looked completely normal, completely normal. So anyway, I turned back to this cloud, and this cloud comes all the way down until it is this massive, still cloud-shaped thing, fluffy looking, floating right outside my bedroom window. And then, you guys, it came inside. It came inside my window. It passed through the window panes and the glass and the wall surrounding the window, and it came and it stood like, I don't know, less than 2 feet from the side of my bed. And it probably was like 6 feet wide and like 10 feet tall. It didn't take any form. Like, I didn't see shape in there or like wings, or angel anything, or it just was this huge pink cloud, right? And the closer it got, the closer it got, the closer it got, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what pink means necessarily, but like, this is a cloud of pure love. This is just love. Like, the universe created a big squishy ball of fluffy love in the sky just for me. And not just so that I could see it and appreciate it, but it came all the way down into my house to say, hey, we heard your appreciation and we feel it, and you're making some headway. You're really doing a good job, eh, on appreciating, and we felt your love. You kept telling us, I love you like the trees love you. And we just wanted you to know we feel the exact same way about you. And I just was like, I'm, I'm laying here in the bed, and by all standards, like especially American standards, but by standards everywhere, I'm a useless person, especially in this moment, right? I am not producing anything that people use in the world. I'm not making money. I'm not serving the poor. I am, hell, at that moment. I mean, I was not even taking care of barely anyone. And it came out of the sky to tell me it loved me. And I just was like, oh my gosh, everybody needs to hear this. Everybody that has a bad day or thinks that they've made a mistake they shouldn't be forgiven for, or is working on some problem like addiction, or like if they have a history of like lying because they learned that in childhood or something, or whatever it is that makes them feel like they're not worth anything, or even just the people who don't even really have like some flaw they're battling with, but they have chronic illness, right? Or whatever, they just feel useless. um it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. um and every single one of you has a cloud in the sky that loves you. And um when the moment is right, it will let you know. And it might come in a different form. The cloud is a metaphor. Might be the way birds dance outside your window in a specific way. There's a lot of ways that our loved ones send messages, but this was the full universe. I had no idea. It wasn't like, this wasn't a family member. This wasn't a specific angel. This was like God's source broke off a piece of the universe and made a little Valentine for me. And I mean, I was crying then now. And I think at first Joe thought something was really wrong. And then I was like, no, this is happening. And I don't know exactly what he was thinking at the time, but I just was like, um, it just felt like, in some ways, I guess it was intense, but like, it didn't feel like intensity that was bad, right? It just felt like pure love walked into my room. And all of my flaws literally didn't exist in the presence of that love. And anything was possible in the presence of that love. And I know that it happened because the universe was hugging me, but they also knew that I would tell you guys and whomever else is listening, because they know I'm a blabbermouth and that I have a sort of a tiny little platform here. And so I felt really sure, like, even in those moments, oh my gosh, this hug is not just for me. This is for all the people that I communicate with, especially on the subjects of like spirituality and their loved ones being on the other side, and um, that kind of stuff. But the whole world really needs to know that it doesn't matter what's going on, and it doesn't matter how much you think you fucked up. Like, that love is there at all times, at any moment. All you have to do is reach for it just a little bit. And oh my gosh, I mean, I just said, sent boring, like, I love you. I love you. I love you like the trees love you. I love you. and I'm appreciative, and I'm so happy to feel appreciative. That's all it took. That's all it took was 2 seconds, and it made a miracle in front of me. And so I don't know. I just I love it, and the universe has done a few other things like that. Like I've been in two dragonfly swarms by myself, and the first time it happened, I didn't know they existed, and like the wing thing with meditation, but still, this was on another level. Because because I see, I've seen colors and things my whole life and spirits, but this was just something completely different because I watched it get made. I watched it be created and then travel. And then after a little while, of me just feeling like I was taking a bath in peace. You okay,
Say
Joe?
again?
I asked if
Yeah.
you were okay because it sounded like you like got trapped in a wind tunnel. I was just curious if you were okay. It got
No,
really
my sound cut out for a bit, so um, I think it's back.
yeah, I think so too. But so yeah, so it hung out in my room for a bit, like it didn't like ever jump at me or and I looked over at my bird just to see and she was like, "Oh yeah, I see it too." Like she was looking at it like, "This is so cool." But animals are so much more they see that stuff I think a lot more often and so much more accepting. She was like, "Well, naturally the universe loves you." But so it stayed in here, I think like 10 minutes. Could have been a little longer or a little shorter. I don't know. It was amazing. And then it sort of backed its way out through the window and it floated in front of the window for another, I don't know, 3 minutes. And then it started back up towards the clouds at that same angle that it came down in, like a 45-degree angle. And it stayed a cloud and then it like landed back up in front of a slightly different group of cumulus clouds and was still a cloud, and then slowly, just very slowly, the pink cloud like just sort of started to fade and it sort of little bits of it moved in sort of different directions and the white clouds were there and the pink cloud was not anywhere else. I looked around to see did it blow somewhere else, did it no um, and eventually then like 10 minutes later the cumulus clouds, a little wind picked up and they blew away too. And I just couldn't even believe it. Okay, let's see. David has the same issue. Yeah, it's tough. So cool, covered in chills. It is so terribly lonely when you feel you contribute nothing to anyone. Yes, it is. Let's see. This doesn't take away from the fact that you're a human and can mess up like all of us, but you ran out of meds because you had dislocations that month and your pain levels were higher than normal. Thank you, Joe. That's nice. It's true too, but I still mess up way more, and you know firsthand I mess up way more. But anyway, sure didn't expect to be crying tonight. Absolutely, Joe. My husband goes through it too. He's been on 20 plus years too. It's good now. I'm not sure what's good now. Stuff for David. But yeah, so I may wind up making a solo video just telling that story again. And I'm sorry because you guys are here a lot. You might get really freaking tired of that story, but it's one of the ones that I feel really strongly a lot of people need to hear. A lot of people. I would love to be able to like send an email to every like person trapped on Skid Row in Los Angeles, whether it's for drugs or family problems or whatever it is, mental or physical illness or whatever. I don't just mean in LA, but that was just the first place I thought of, right? If I could literally explain it to every single one of them, um, I don't know if it would change. I think it has the potential to change their whole entire lives, like, and change decisions they make, especially if some of their circumstances are because of them feeling like they're worthless and then they live like they're worthless, right? We all do. Like when we all mistreat ourselves in some capacity or another, um, when we feel we're not very much value. Um, and so it really could actually change a lot. But even if it didn't, even if it just let them carry that thought around with them every minute, that they could manage to remember that thought, I think it's important because if it can happen to me, it can happen to anyone, any one of us. And oh my gosh, just pure love. And I've felt a lot of stuff, you know. I've felt angels using rods, and heck, today there were. I'm just gonna call her the quickest way to label her. We have a squirrel angel, not an angel who is a squirrel in our yard that is accompanied by an angel that I just saw, just very plain as day, walk past my window today with the squirrel. But um, it's good now. Volume came back. Oh, was it my sound? Was my sound gone?
Yeah, you had dipped a bit out and then came back.
Oh no, I'm
So
sorry.
I'm not sure if it was my wind tunnel that caused that, but everything's fine now.
Um, okay, yes, you should. You need to remember that whenever you feel useless, that very often you are that little pink cloud to a lot of people, including everyone here. Well, that's very sweet too, and so is everyone, though. I think you're talking to everyone, though, Joe,
Yeah,
aren't you?
it applies to everyone,
Hmm.
but some of us probably need to hear it more than others because we are tempted to believe that the negative voices that we've heard all our lives, sometimes we believe it more than the truth.
Oh yeah, and then so many of us create our own negative voices without assistance. You know. Um,
Yeah.
Pixie says this is going to sound weird, but I felt, I don't know, kind of hard to explain. That hit my core, like I was feeling just a piece of what you felt at that moment. So tears running down my face, not sad tears. Dang, I don't know what I'm trying to say, like a weight off of my soul. Yeah, I was hoping for that because I cry every time I say it, and it's joy. It's love and joy, more love than anything, just pure love. And I think exactly what you said made sense, Pixie, and because like I said, even in the moment when I was like so amazed and overwhelmed, and I know at that moment they were giving it to me, right? But they were giving it to everyone I know, right? That's how it works, and because we're all connected, and they were like, you know, they didn't. I think they didn't even say please share because they just knew I would, right? Like they know all of us, right? So they give us, everybody gets a little piece or two that could really unlock a lot of things for the people around them. Um, and I think it's important to share that stuff. And
Yeah, I felt exactly what you're describing. Because I I I I heard it, and I had tears coming down my eyes as well.
so, yeah, he's agreeing with you, Pixie. God's love like that a few times at church. Music goes through. Yeah, I, I did a lot as a kid at church for sure. Um, I also had a really I had other complicated, but the complicated parts for me at church had a lot to do with, whatever aspect of that experience was man made, which is a lot of it, right? Um, those are the areas I struggled with. But the love, I understand what you're saying, Kat. Um, hold on one second here. Okay, I've got a person here hanging out with me, but they're sleepy, so I'm just gonna let them hang here. Um, that's amazing that you've experienced that at church, Kat. Though that's amazing. I understand what you mean, and Pixie, I understand exactly what you're talking about too. It's, um, you know, and please, like, pass it on. Tell that story. Anybody that, I mean, if it doesn't feel natural or comfortable for you guys, of course don't. But if it feels natural and comfortable, share that story. Pass that feeling on. It's one of the greatest gifts you could give to anybody is to pass the God source's love, on um, to anyone that's willing to listen. And I mean, this will sound sort of strange, but like this is because I'm going to include other like pagan sounding things too. But the whole, one of the strongest reasonings for church that I still feel like really matter, right? The aspect of church, like, because there's a lot, again, like I said, that's really man made and stuff like that. But the community, as long as you find a community that's primarily, because nothing's perfect, but that's primarily like they're trying their hardest to be love based, you know, no matter how they're expressing it, right? Um, and so, church groups and things like that, but also like covens, I was thinking of covens, and I know um, that sometimes witch type talk makes people nervous, but I'm not talking about specific type of witchery of any kind. I'm just saying, you know, women, traditionally women, and sometimes men, but traditionally women and often their children would come together and they would practice different types of spirituality, which is what a lot of like Wicca was, right? And it was the sharing their experiences of air quotes around the word magic, but it is maybe one of the words that would have been used, magic, but you could substitute the word miracle. You could substitute the words like um, uh, like manifestations of saints and gods and you know holy families, and so that communal experience, as long again as people are intending it with really a lot of kindness and love, is like one of the most important aspects no matter what you're practicing, because then you can feel a little piece of that story, and then you can give a piece of that story to Krista, right? You can give a piece of that story to Ashton and Jimmy, and then they can give a piece of that story to whoever in their life wouldn't be freaked out by it, and could hear them and understand that they're not trying to tell them weird tales, and they're not trying to be like edgy or new agey. They're just trying to spread the energy that comes with that kind of love and joy. Let's see here. Wipe my face. Yeah, the song that hits me is a Christian song, The Voice of Truth. I'll have to look that one up. It's not all bad. We had small groups met at home of one of the members. Yeah, I mean, see, like you guys are saying, there's a lot of good there, right? And the main and most important part of having that community, I know also, especially when we're younger, we're fed that it's literally, you got to let God know you're there, or you know whatever source is the source of your religion, right? But God knows you where you are, no matter where you are, right? It's nice sometimes to say I tip my hat to you, but you can say that in your bathroom, in your backyard, in a porta potty at a concert. God doesn't care, but it's sharing with those groups and passing the love on like a game of telephone. Um, that can change communities. And so, yeah, especially if you land, or even if you're like, if it's 7 people and 4 of them are really well intended, open minded, open hearted individuals, you know? And I'm thinking, of course, in my head that if there were 4 of them, that each one of you was one of the 4 in whatever group that was, right? But so then that means, you guys are get ready, set, getting ready, set, go to, change a pretty large group of people. Sometimes it takes time and trust. People have to, sort of trust us that we're not making up some weird thing just to have something to talk about. But, once you have that, um, you guys can really share a whole lot. Oh, good. Okay. I can't wait to hear I'm going to look at the picture right now, and here in a little while I'll look at the song. Let's see. Ooh, that's pretty. Look at that. Isn't it pretty? Hmm. Oh, Miss Claudia said, this is like 20 minutes ago, trying to come back. My Wi-Fi just did an upgrade. Be there soon. And then in the group. Okay, yeah, I can't wait to hear this. That's a Tahoe. Did you take that picture, Miss Cat? That Tahoe sunrise? That's a beaut. You could, if you took that photograph, my goodness, you could sell that photograph. I'm gonna send it to you, Joe. Hold on. Okay, hold on. I guess I have to save it this way, which is perfectly fine. Okay, now I'll send it to Joe. And I love that you share this stuff, Kat, and then when we get to listen to the song, um, maybe that's another great thing for this manifestation Mondays thing, right? Is to share stories like this on top of working on, further joyous communications and collaborations with spirit. Um, but yeah, continuing to share stories like this that are both past, present, and ideally future, including just you being in that beautiful sunset and snapping that photo, and um, you just even telling us what if you took the picture, what you were thinking when you took the picture. Oh, it's from a Tahoe Facebook site. Okay. But I'm sure you did take pictures too, and you know exactly what you were feeling, and or you at least at some point you saw a sunset that looked like that while you're standing there. So you know how that feels, and talking about that kind of stuff is, again, it's a fast track to helping people manifest. And helping yourself manifest is living in those moments of joy and not giving yourself too much contrast. Um, so I think that will be could be a really joyful addition to Manifestacular Mondays, is to say, hey, what little or big thing did you feel you experienced this week? And then what do you have a story from the past you would like to share? Because just that sheer feeling, that gut in Pixie's case, that gut feeling, in Kat's case, her chi moving so that it's all chills, right? That feeling of recognition. Same picks, not early or late. I'm not sure. I don't know if I understood that part. Some picks, not early or late. Does that mean like the time of day it was? Ah, okay, I see. You got some pics, but not early or late, so no sunrise or sunset this particular trip. I'm trying to remember, you sent me a couple. Well, you sent me a handful, but there were a couple that I was really like, ooh. I feel like there was waterfall days. Was am I remembering properly? Because I'm pretty sure I saw some. Like I had some joyful responses to some waterfall pictures. Ooh. I took this my very first trip to PCB. I felt that kind of peace when this was taken. That's pretty. PCB. PCB. I'm so bad at acronyms lately, worse than normal.
Oh, she's muted. I was wondering why.
Yeah, I got muted just a few seconds ago because I have a fellow collaborator that came in and was laying on my lap very quietly, which was lovely, but then had a few contributions to make about Miss Cat's photos being beautiful, so we muted. Panama City Beach, I see. Joe has a Vegas sunset I'm going to be sending. Hold on. Or maybe it could be sunrise. I'm not sure. He'll have to tell us.
The sunrise.
In the photo, is that the moon still up in the sky up in the left?
Hang on. Let me check. On the left. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, the sun was now coming up.
I'm having trouble saving it, but I will figure it out so I can share it with them. Okay. It says I can forward it to my inbox. Perhaps that makes a difference. Oh, yeah, it sent it to me as an email. That's interesting. Oh, gosh. Okay, so it forwarded. Hey, um, I will be right back. These are beautiful pictures. Hold on a second. Sorry, I hope everyone was finding good conversation. I was taking care of a handful of different things. Now I'm texting to confirm that I did exactly that. Dun dun dun. Let's see. No sunrise at Panama City Beach. Hi, finally, welcome back, Claudia. My Wi-Fi updated. Okay, everyone, everyone is here. I don't know where Joe went. He's not even muted, so I'm not sure.
No, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay.
I was having a little problem with connecting to the chat as well, so I was um restarting my phone and stuff.
Oh, I'm sorry that that was going on.
Yeah.
I stepped. Yes, I'm going to send Joe's sunrise picture here in just 1 second. I am texting about dogs getting Benadryl and children. um, okay, almost done with that here. And then I think I successfully saved that so that I can share it here. Hmm. Okay, I don't understand. I'm still. It sent it to myself. Let's see where it is. Still in the email.
I don't know that usually when I send you pictures, they're not that difficult.
To like strip right straight out of there. You know.
Yeah, but
See here.
I don't know.
Yay! Success.
There you go.
Great success. Okay. Everyone in here received Joe's sunrise photography. Me too. You two dogs can have Benadryl. Dogs can have. I'm not sure what that was. Cool Pick Cat is saying. You said it's from. Did you say the top of the MGM Grand?
Well, not the top. That was from the window of my room in the MGM Grand.
And this was this your first time in the States?
Was
I'm trying to
it?
remember.
Um, I'm trying to remember myself. I think it might have been. I had a conference to attend in Vegas. Yeah, I think
Yes,
it
that's
was
Claudia.
probably.
I did send it to you. Please go ahead. I'm sorry, Joe.
I passed through the states before, like and connecting flights and stuff, but my the first time um, that was my end destination. Yeah, it was this conference I had to attend in Vegas. Um, I quite like the desert air, and the morning sunrise was amazing.
And when you when you had been there for connecting flights, have you ever had you prior to that ever been able to leave the
The
airport?
airport? No, I don't think so. No, I was in Newark, New Jersey, and I was in Houston. But I didn't leave the airport.
Okay, I'm trying to send everybody's pictures here.
There were people that spoke to me in Spanish and were very upset when I couldn't answer in Spanish because I think they thought I was Hispanic.
Yeah, they're not right. Okay, now I think I've successfully sent. I'm here, but now BRB. Okay. Dogs can have Benadryl. Are you cat? You know how print is always so like I don't know. Are you saying you take it and dogs are also can have it, or are you saying you don't really like it so dogs can have all of it? You know how it goes when you're trying to translate text to speech. Okay, sorry, I have traffic for humans and dogs. And I type in nursing notes shorthand. Yeah, I understand. Well, and also your speaking voice, right? So I know, um, sarcasm is one of your strong points of comedy. And so sometimes I'm not sure. Like, is this one literal, or is this one a little bit of the comedy? Hi, egg. I love you. The incredible edible egg. Egg, go, 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 go. Oh, Miss Claudia, I'm sorry. I want to double back. What is your question, please? How exciting and excellent.
Do you remember the 1960s Batman TV show?
Yeah.
There was a villain called Egghead. Vincent Price played him.
Wow. Now that I don't, I mean, I'll be looking it up later, but I don't have as vivid a memory of that.
Yeah, he used to make puns like that.
Excellent. It's against my idea of faith. I'm a tough egg to crack, Batman. You better be careful. I'm thinking of Vincent Price, Vincent Twice. Welcome back, Angie K. Kanji.
I will be right back.
Okie dokie, artichoke. Exactly. Exciting. Egg is here, and I love egg. Excellent. But yeah, I'm gonna because I let this chat get rambly again, which is fine because I enjoy hanging out with everybody. But I'll probably be making a not a short, but a shorter one that just talks about, um, hey, for next Monday, everybody have whatever supplies you want to have to make, a manifestation board, a mood board, a dream board, whatever you want to call it. Oh, how do you guys with POTS handle having to stand for long periods of time and deal with the chest pains? Excellent, extravagant, egg, rav, egg ravagant, yeah. You missed that kind of vague egg, how kind of egg. Um, so, hmm, the chest pains. I'm assuming you mean like the costochondritis kind of stuff. Miss Claudia, or are you talking about like when your spine's like when your vertebrae sublux? Because they're a little bit different. Well, I think, first of all, if you want to be doing that and it's been a long time, okay, well, I'll ask this question. For a while there, you were walking. Were you walking every day? Something like that. Are you still walking? Ecstatic. Oh, Pixie, I love that gingerbread house you've been working on a lot. I'm having a hard time telling the like size, like the proportion, but it's cute. Um, yes to walking, walking at least a mile or 1.5. Okay, so in the middle of your chest, yeah, that to me sounds like costochondritis. Um, pain. For me, expired. um, an expedient joke. Can't explain how much I love puns. You crack me up. That's a good one too. Okay, so cat. Before medication, my heart rate goes up. I retch. So are you saying your heart rate goes up from pain, or your heart rate goes up, and that's how your POTS is when there's an Ehlers-Danlos flare? Oh, you asked about pots. I don't know why I thought you asked about Ehlers, Claudia. I'm sorry. So, okay. So, for me, the chest pains are not related to the POTS. They're related to some of the comorbidities of the POTS, right? Which a lot of people with POTS have the Ehlers-Danlos or the fibromyalgia or some kind of myalgia, right? And some kind of uh, both uh, autoimmune and inflammatory. Sometimes they're one and the same. Sometimes we're just lucky and we get a whole barrage of different ones. So the chest pains, I would dare to say, might not be from the POTS. Um, but let's see here. Sorry. Okay. Half a gallon of Pedialyte. Okay, because I was going to ask, because Kat was, talks so much about the salt. Um, it's the POTS, huh? That's so interesting. Because to me, like, it just, I don't know. It just lines up with some. I guess maybe I just have too many overlapping things, so I can't tell. Oh man, I just love cracking yolks. I'm letting everyone here make egg jokes. Yeah, the retching almost sounds like, well, I don't know. Everybody's different, but for me, is it sick? Is it like cyclical? Cyclical retching or vomiting, Miss Cat? Pushing the hand in my chest and pushing me against the wall. Yeah. For me, if that's a familiar feeling, but it's just for me, I've always associated it with something else. So, um, in terms of the standing up, I think it'd be mighty smart to. Well, do you know where the party is going to be? Like, do you know what environment? Because you've spoken about it a lot, so I figure you know a lot of the details. Do you know where it's going to be held? Have you, Miss Cat? Have you been tested for the SIBO? SIBO? Have we talked about that? Okay. So, Claudia, do they have the Officers Club? I'm assuming, right? They have some of the taller stools that like go along the bar, right? That either go for like the taller tabletops, like bar tabletops, or along the bar, right? Bar stools, or the taller stools that go at the bar that have the back. Do they have some of those? Because those are sort of great if you're in a situation where You might want to be up and down. If you settle on one of those, you are at rest, right? But when you're getting up and down, you're not going so far up and down, right? So it's not as much of like a pressure change. Ran out of yolks, so I guess just egg, 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 egg. I'm a scramble like an omelet. Well, I love you and I love omelets. I love you more than I love omelets, but I love you. It's been very exciting having you. I'm so glad you approached the the chat and decided to hang out with us. And egg, don't break before we come back. Yeah, stay hard boiled. All according to my plan. Now it's time to ignite your passion for gaming. You got them all beat. I won't unless it's a joke. So, Nurse Cat, what do you think of that advice of staying on a taller stool so that there's not as much of a pressure change? Also, I think shoes are going to be important too. Is the dad jokes? Is that X chromosome? Yeah, I mean, I know you've got some time, but since it's on your mind, I sincerely would, especially if you're pre-planning a lot of things, I would scope out the seating situation, if you're there ever for lunch or something. And then the shoes are going to be mega important because, even if they're flats, like you're saying, they need to have some arch support. Might be a great idea to have some sort of maybe compression pantyhose, especially since it's going to be wintertime. Yeah, that's always a good one too. My walker has one of those little built-in seats where you can also lift it up, and there's that little basket underneath. I've been a fan of it for a long time. Yeah, compression. She's right. Yeah, I am too, Miss Claudia. Now, I mean, now I know for me it's the Ailers, right? Like I never stood a chance at having arches. Yeah, Joe was asking a lot of questions about nursing shoes earlier today and their comfort level, and I was like, well, we know some people you could ask. Hold on a second. Egg flew into my room. Sorry, sleep very well. Somebody charged in my room again. So Pixie sleep really well. Send Jimmy our best. I'm so sorry that he's got that going on in his eyeballs. Um, I can't. I'm really excited about manifestation or mood boards or whatever we're calling them for Monday, because some of you guys are so good at um, at creative things, that assemblage, which is the fancy word for um, collage, right? Which is certainly one of the primary ways to do one of those manifestation boards. So um, I'm excited, right, for everybody to. It doesn't have to be fancy, right? Just if people don't have all of the things that are standard, if you can't get a hold of them, you just bring a piece of paper and draw things, or cut out some things from magazines. If you don't have the nice glue, use tape. It doesn't matter. The whole point is, um, to mentally arrange things in a way that makes them accessible to you. Yeah, he's much better. Thank God her little guy is better. Thank God. I got really scared the other night, which is not. I mean, you have a lot of grandkiddos, and they've had a few things, but that's the first time I ever really it struck me as fear, and I'm not really sure why. Yeah, rollator. The rollators are the badass. Oh, you sent us pic? Let's see. Oh yeah, no, I don't know if you were here, but I was commenting on it, pics, and I was like, curious about the size. I was trying to figure out the size of this, like, because I couldn't tell in relation to the things in the background. Um, what size they are. Miss Claudia, are you talking about once we do the mood boards? Is that what you mean by picture? Okay, Jojo B, I'm sending you pics, pics. They're so cool. I think it's not. I think it's a gingerbread, but I think it's made out of styrofoam, if I'm recalling some of the origin story. Oh, so okay, so Claudia, so we'll do them while we sit together um, during the live on Monday, during Manifestacular Monday, right? And we'll talk about um, maybe it might wind up being that throughout the week something happens where guides are like, hey, we're going to make a manifestation board up on this topic, or it could be just general. We'll see, what the guides say, because they know better than I do by a lot. However, I do know in terms of structure, right? The plan is to sit together and chat and do the boards, have the stuff ready to go, but do it while we're chatting. And then, um, depending on, uh, well, I guess I should phrase it this way: whomever, while it is live, right, and it's open, wants to come on and share their board, right, they will be, have a chance to do so. And then if it is something that is, just like too private and personal and um, sacred or whatever, then if they are if they've paid the little fee to be in the private class, they can show it then, or just share send a picture and we can send it out to, the group privately. 22 inches tall and 25 feet wide is for the kitchen. Okay, I knew that it was like a bigger size, but I didn't think it was the one you're talking about wanting to make out of big styrofoam for the yard. Yeah, when I saw the pink doors, right, the pink lights. First of all, I was like, "Oh my gosh, my pink cloud lives in Pixie's house." And it was like, "Oh, that looks like where we all live, like all of our characters, like like our goofiest parts of us and all of our screen names, all live there." Yeah, Joe says the lights are a really nice touch. I like the glitter too. Okay, I don't know if you've decorated the inside, but someone in your family just contributed the idea that you could have a chandelier in there and that you have a pair of earrings where you have lost one of them, and so the other one could be something that makes a great chandelier. Oh, interesting. To me, maybe I don't have my phone brightness enough up high enough. I leave it pretty low in case of headaches and stuff. So to me, it's reading as like like a punk rock pink. So if you haven't done the inside, because I'm not sure, but I'm seeing it like um, it's hanging on the inside there, but also it's something where you can see the shape of it out the window, like the light source is behind it. So on the little window panel, you see the shape of the fact that there's a chandelier. Ooh, a rocking chair. Cat in a rocking chair. Ooh, bookshelf. Bookshelf. You did something really cool on a bookshelf, Pix. I'm trying to remember which craft that was. Okay, I know I'm probably dragging people along here. I still think you should make, those little neighborhood libraries that people make where they make the little libraries that are like two or three shelves um, tall, right? But they're short little shelves, right? And then like maybe, I don't know, 2 feet, 2.5 feet wide. And it looks like basically a little mailbox or a little doghouse, but it's raised up on a post like a mailbox. And you put books in it for the neighborhood. And then the neighborhood's encouraged to take a book but leave one of their old books. The book nook. So I'm gonna kill the stream because it's been much longer than anticipated. Thank you guys for coming. I really appreciate it. Thank you always for like showing your big heart. And uh, if anybody gets wild inspiration this week about, hey, our manifestation board should be on this topic, right? Or like once again, if you think of either something for Kat and I to cover crime wise, and again, it could be, cases, but it could also be different things, like I said, like trafficking or even like religious abuse or, whatever. Um, but it would need to, the only thing about like those broad topics is we would just need it pinpointed slightly smaller, like religious abuse in this group, right? Or trafficking in this area of the country, or in this age group, or whatever it is. Hold on, let's see. You think they'd get stolen there? Oh yeah, maybe. I've seen people do food as well. I love the book idea. I think you're doing. Honestly, they would go so well with your channel too, Miss Claudia. I think your fella builds a little, doesn't he? Your new fella. Maybe he could do the. Maybe he could do the carpentry. Yes. Good night, everyone. Please, please comment, like as much as you can. I know You'll be seeing a lot of um, weird to us anyway. Weird to us. Um, Shorts that are like, hey, coming up on Wednesday, we're doing this. If you wouldn't mind just throwing the thumbs up and just watching those things once if you get the chance. They're 15 seconds. It would help a lot. And sending you guys so much love. And I'm always so happy to spend time with you guys. And I'm going to click the button before I keep running my mouth. Love, love, love.